You're listening to Female Founders with Claire Bartlett, the podcast that tells you what it is really like to be a female founder in today's world. We share invaluable insights through personal journeys and real-life business experiences, highlighting the highs and the lows so you can move forward in your business with ease. I am passionate to share with you the realities of business and give you the strategies and simple steps you need to truly succeed with your business. Today's episode is brought to you by Xero Accounting Software, a champion of female entrepreneurs and a proud sponsor of the Female Founders podcast. Managing your business finances can feel overwhelming, but Xero simplifies it all and gives you the power to keep your books in order and your mind on growth. Xero have offered an amazing 50% discount on your first 3 months with them. So if you'd like to take advantage of this amazing deal, just search refer.xero.com/female founders or follow the link in the show notes. Don't forget to give this show a follow to make sure you never miss an episode and share it with any incredible female founders you know. But for now, let's jump into this week's episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Female Founders podcast. Today, I am really excited to be joined by the gorgeous Debbie Waite, who is going to talk to us all about work and working with purpose and keeping that balance in life. So, Debbie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Claire. It's great to be here.
I'm so excited for this one. So, I saw you talk at Ideas Fest, I think was where we first met. And I just was really inspired by your talk and the insight that you shared. And I wanted to share that with our audience. So do you want to tell us a bit more about you, how you got to where you are today, whether there was a pivotal moment or person in the past that has led you to this path?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. So I'm the founder of Stronger Inside and Out, and I basically coach high achieving go-getters who have got big jobs, and on the outside to the rest of the world, they are absolutely smashing everything in work and in life. But behind the scenes, they're feeling less than great, and they feel like everything other than their job is falling apart. And so I help them to carry on going forwards because they're not the kind of people who want to put the brakes on because they love what they do and they're passionate and that's what drives them. But at the same time, they want to be able to do it without burning out and without basically ruining their health, their relationships, or their life. So that kind of sums it up, really. Pivotal moments. Oh my goodness. I think I've had loads of small moments throughout my life that's kind of got me to where I have today. And probably, to be honest, one of my biggest inspirers was at school. So I was a bit of a rebel at school, Claire, if you can believe it. I was one of those people that just needed to know why. And if I didn't understand why something needed to be done in a certain way, I'd try it a different way. And I went off the rails for a bit to the point. It's really funny actually talking about this now, being a mum, because it got to a point where none of the teachers wanted me in their class. And I probably should be saying this on a podcast for the live viewing, should I? But I was earwigging at the staff room, and the teachers were all drawing straws, and the loser was going to have me in their class, right?
Oh
And
my gosh.
they were all just like, didn't know what to do with me. I don't think they actually did anything to try and help or change it, but they did not know what to do with me. And there was one little voice, which, if you think of an old granny, and this is not doing her justice, but if you think of an old granny, quite short, quite frumpy looking, curly blonde hair, and this little voice piped up to say, that's enough now. I have absolute faith in Debbie. She's going to turn it around. I'll have her in my class. And it just needed that one glimmer of hope, one person to believe in me that made me wanted to prove her right rather than everybody else. And I think for me, that's really taught me loads. One, it made me turn everything around to the point where I ended up as head girl at the school and I inducted a new headmistress, and it just completely turned it around just from her words of seeing the good in me.
And did you tell her?
Do you know what? I never did, and I have spent probably the last 10 years trying to find her. I don't think she's around anymore. I think she's passed. But I really wanted her family to know what an impact she had on me. And that, I think, for all of us, particularly as women, we are supposed to be in a tribe. We're supposed to have each other's backs. We're supposed to see the good in each other. And I think society doesn't set us up for that at all. They set us up to compete with each other, to see the worst in each other, to fix our weaknesses. So everybody needs a Mrs. O'Farrell in their life. So if anyone knows Mrs.
I love
O'Farrell, who
that.
used to work at Hillview School in Tunbridge, please contact me. Everyone needs a Mrs. O'Farrell in their life, and that's what I try and be to other people now.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. But also, it really highlights the importance of actually adults in our lives as when we're growing up. And I am the same as you. I'm always really conscious that my daughter, for instance, is always watching and trying to make sure that she gets that. Because I actually, again, we shouldn't, I don't know whether we should own up to all of these things, but I was exactly the same as you. I was an absolute terror at school. I barely went to school. I skived a lot. And I was the same in that actually none of the adults in my life at that point, including my own parents, nobody believed in me at all. I didn't have that support. And it took me a really long time to get over that. I didn't have my Miss O'Farrell. So it shows how important that can be to change the path of your entire life, and how important teachers can be, and what a massive part they play. And so often they don't even know it, like you say. You
They
never
have
pointed that
no
out to her,
idea.
what a difference you made.
And I think as well, I wouldn't have known it at the time. I probably didn't. I didn't put it down to, the biggest turnaround of my life down to her at that moment.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's years later, when you become an adult, possibly when you become a parent, that you go, oh my goodness, that just changed the whole direction. That happens in business as well. I mean, I work mainly with the corporate sector, and there's so many egos because I work in a lot of male-dominated environments. There's a lot of egos. There's a lot of masculine testosterone jostling, and that's from the men and the women. And it gets to a point where people don't really know who they actually are anymore, because they're just constantly putting this mask on, constantly trying to prove that they're good, constantly trying to beat the next person. That actually sometimes it just takes one person to see them as a human. I did a post on LinkedIn about bringing the humanity back to the boardroom, and it was exactly that. It was, if you have somebody that sees you as a human. Now, that doesn't matter your gender, your race, your colour, your religion, anything, but they see you. What is it? What is it? Is it Avatar? Is that the movie that when they fall in love, they go, I see you? I can't remember. It might be.
Yes. Yeah.
And it just takes one person to have enough time and energy to really see who you are, and you to know that they've got belief in you, for you to totally turn your confidence around, your self-belief around, and therefore the results that you actually get for you and your team and your business. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And I think, like you say, we're so driven now as an entire race, the human race is so driven to always be the best and be pushing and, like you say, jostling for the top spots and the biggest salaries and the houses. And actually, none of that necessarily, people forget what actually they want. And it's always about keeping up with the Joneses and just pushing for that more, more, more. And like you said at the beginning, which we'll hit on in a second, is losing that balance then in life, and actually your purpose in life. And if somebody can just take the time, because it does take time to put that special effort in to actually see somebody and let that person know that you see them for all that they are, create safe spaces where they can talk openly about actually what it is that they want from life and their career. And I think we often feel really judged actually about the decisions that we make in our career. And if we
don't take the biggest paying offer on the table, that's a really judged decision. Why on earth would you not take the biggest? We've just had this actually in our personal life, where my husband was looking for a new job and he had lots of offers on the table, and he hasn't taken, I don't know whether he'll be happy me sharing this or not, but he didn't take the highest offer on the table because he wouldn't have had that balance in life then, and we wouldn't have seen him as much, and our daughter's at quite a critical age, and he's made that decision for him. And I think there's a lot of people that would feel pressured into taking that higher salary and that bigger job because then they can keep up with the Joneses. But that's not what matters in life at all.
Exactly.
And that's why I love so much what you do, because you help people see that, realize what it is that they want from life, and then make sure that they can achieve it as well as keeping the balance in life.
100%. And I think that I've done it for years for business owners, for people who have want to start a business or aren't happy in their career, or are in a business but can't get it to move forward without, getting divorced or getting ill or becoming a shouty parent, as I call it. But actually, where it's needed more, in fact, in my view, and where I can certainly make the biggest difference, is in the boardroom. Because when it comes to these big corporates, these international corporates, and SMEs as well, but what happens is the vulnerability is not allowed at the boardroom table. It's just not. At some point maybe, and therefore nobody has that person. Like you've just said, to have, your husband's really lucky. I'm sure he's had that conversation with you, and you've worked it out together of what you want your lives to be like and the impact of taking what role. But there's a lot of people out there that don't have that person to talk to, whether it's their other half who just doesn't get it, or whether they aren't comfortable admitting to themselves, let alone the rest of the world or even one other person, that they're not quite sure they're in the right place because they've just spent the last 25 years grafting and getting to a really senior position. And so who are they to then give it all up and go, do you know what? I don't want to go as fast anymore. Or even more so, this isn't for me anymore. I need a change. Is really difficult because internal companies often have a HR person or their own leadership trainer, or even some of them have coaches. But nobody in their right mind is going to damage their career by saying to an internal coach, don't think I want to go for that promotion. Not quite sure I even want this job anymore. I want to spend more time with my family.
Isn't that interesting what you say, though, that you feel like it's damaging the career by being honest about what you want?
Yeah.
Why is that? That's how it's seen, that it's damaging your career.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest questions, isn't it, in this space?
God, it's, if that is the bit that I can change in the next 10 years, I'll be happy, because it's the culture that needs to change. It's the systems, the processes, how we recruit people, how we reward people, how we motivate people. It can't be on external, right, well, if you make that many sales, we're going to give you a promotion. If you make that many sales, we're going to keep you bonused. If you're going to, because it's not getting the strengths out of the majority. It's getting using the strengths of the minority. And if we can set an environment, if we can create a culture within an organization, no matter how big or how small, that truly values each individual as a human being and really utilizes the living daylights out of their strengths, imagine what could happen with the growth of that business, with the difference that business can make, and of course the money that they can make as well. That's when it gets exciting.
Yeah, 100%. And I was actually talking about this the other day with someone about neurodiversity, and how there's actually the culture is changing slightly now, that people are aware that for specific jobs, skills are in high demand for people with ADHD, for instance, or, with that neurodiversity, because they know that they have really specific skills that would be brilliant for that role. So they're now embracing that and actively looking for these people. And I find that really interesting, that people are starting to become more aware, I think, about skills and what would work within certain positions in their company, and not be scared to be so open about what they're looking for. And I think it goes both ways. I think from an employer perspective, I think if you can be open and honest with, where you're wanting to be, take that business, where you're wanting that to go, and being completely honest with your staff, and then looking at the staff and the skill sets that they have, like you say, because we all have things that we're good at and things that we're not so good at. And the purpose of a team, if you do it right, is that they will balance each other out and they will have skills in every area among them, between them. But you can't expect any one human to have all of the skills in all of the areas that you necessarily need. But it is about opening up those conversations, isn't it? And saying, this is what I'm looking for. And I can't remember the name of it, but one place I worked at years and years ago, they made us take this test. It's a book and I've got it somewhere. If I find it, I'll put it in the show notes for everybody. But it's a personality test in essence. And it highlights what you're really great at and what you will excel at and what not necessarily would suit you. And I thought that was really great because then actually they use that information to help you achieve much better in your career than trying to force you down a path that isn't suited for you. But that's really rare for any employer to do that.
Yeah, and a path that is historically set out as a trajectory that is expected. So, for example, I work a lot with, purely by accident, if I'm honest, I work a lot with accountancy firms and law firms. And of course, that's a partnership model. And therefore, the aim is you start at the bottom, you work really hard, not necessarily in the same company, but you go from, a junior to a partner to an equity partner. And that is the trajectory and all the bits in between. And I was coaching a guy a few years ago now who he was on the partner trajectory, obviously, because that's where everyone is expected to be. And if that's not what you want, well, why are you here? Even though you need those rocks in our company that don't want promotion, they just want to come in and do a great job. And he was going for the third time he was going for partner. And throughout our coaching conversations, I was like, tell me the reasons you're going for this partnership. Because it was a big process. It was a big process of presentations and, and business plans and all sorts. And he couldn't answer the question. He literally couldn't answer the question. And when we dug down, it was because that was what it was expected of him. And if he said he didn't want it, then what would the perception be of him? And what would his future look like? And actually, the outcome was he didn't go for it. And all of a sudden, he went from being an okay at his job, because he always had this stress of trying to get to partner and what he needed to do, and he had to fix all the weaknesses he had, to absolutely excelling at his director's job, because he was focusing on what he was doing right then, instead of the future bit that was actually quite scary because it wasn't fitting with his skill set at all. And it completely flipped it round. Now, he had to make that choice because there would be a ceiling of where his money and his bonuses would get to. But people often don't think about why they're applying for that promotion or why they're applying for that partnership. They do it because it's expected. It's fast. That all of it needs to just change, and it's going to have to with the different generations in business now. It's going to have to change, and it's going to have to change really quickly, because if businesses want the best people they can get, the best talent for the right things, like you've just said, the strategy of the business, what is it you need now? What skills do you need in the future, and how are you attracting them to the business? There's going to have to be a change of how people progress and how they learn and how they're rewarded. It's going to have to be a massive shift. That's what I'm promoting at the moment.
I think it's just opening up the floor for the conversations, asking your staff, is that actually what you want? Do you actually want to? I know that's the next natural step, but is that what you want in your future? And I think it completely goes through to business and being a business owner as well. Yes, the next step, the first target that everybody seems to work towards is a 6-figure business. So then next you're looking for the high 6 figures and then the 7 figures. But all of that comes with sacrifices in your life and challenges to your day-to-day living. And if that is what you genuinely want, amazing, go for it. But ask yourself that question, is that actually what I want? And I've had some people previously on the podcast who have said I got to those stages and hated it. One person described it as a gilded cage, which I love, because they'd worked so hard and followed this path that is pre-written for business owners in effect, and they'd got to that 7-figure stage and they absolutely hated their life. They had no balance. They were spending no time with their family. They were burnt out, exhausted, and they completely lose the passion for what they're doing because it becomes a job, it becomes a chore because it's not aligned with them. So they had to spend a long time undoing what they'd created basically and finding a better way. And I think it's so rare that we ask ourselves these questions. We do constantly it's like being on a treadmill and you just follow the path that everybody else before you has tread. And, we think that's what we should be doing, like you say, but it's really important to ask ourselves these questions and actually figure out what you want from life. And also there's life stages, at the moment, our daughter is at an age where we want to be around and she wants us around. Give us another 5 years and she won't want us there anymore. We'll be able to work more. And so we'll be looking for a different thing to do with our time and our business and work life. And again, I think it's important to bring that into the conversation of where are you at this point? Just because he doesn't want partner now doesn't mean that in 5-10 years he might not want it then,
Yeah, for sure. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I think that now more than ever, so what, 10, 15 years ago, I was running a massive diversity project in a global insurance company. And the sole focus of the project was to get more women into senior roles. And to get more women into senior roles was going to make obviously a massive difference because then you've got a different personalities at the top level, different creativity, different thoughts, different ways of doing things, which is great. And obviously it hit the numbers and showed that they were a great place to work. But actually, what it boiled down to was, are we setting both women and men up for success when they become a parent? And what happened, in my view, is when this all started about 15, 20 years ago, about trying to get more women into senior roles, of course it was done for the right reason. And it was done to create opportunity for women and to, try and decrease the gap, the gender gap. Brilliant.
Yeah.
However, what I believe has now happened, it's put so much pressure on women, particularly the high achieving, go-getting women who are really driven, to do more. Because if you're not earning 6 figures, or you're not earning 7 figures, or you're not on the board of blah, 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 then actually you're a bit of a failure. What do you mean it's because you're a mum? Well, so what? All these other women are doing it. They're being great mums. They're staying fit and healthy. They're cooking everything from scratch. And they're also on the board of directors and they've got their own 6-figure side hustle. And I just say boobs to a lot of it. Because I just think, whoa, how can we create a space where parents, I don't think this is a female thing and a male thing, how can we create a space where parents can be the best parents they can be and make that the priority? And if that means we're going to give them the opportunity to have a 3-year sabbatical, go and have a 3-year sabbatical. If that means we've got to suck it up for a bit and allow them to be part-time or job share for 2-3 years, well, if they're a decent person and we really want them in our business, well, then let's make that happen. Because I think that this is a woman thing. There's been so much pressure put on women over the last 10 years to do it all that we can't. And that's why so many women are burning out. And actually the reward and the satisfaction from motherhood isn't, it's going to sound really awful, but you'll get what I mean, isn't big enough to take away the self-satisfaction we get from being successful businesswomen. Because with that, we get external gratification. We get thank yous. We win awards. We get fat salary. We change the world. All of the measures of success now all spotlights on those things. Nobody, you don't hear people talking about, I'm a full-time mum and I absolutely adore my children. I'm a part-time mum and my children are thriving. They're really happy. They're really confident. They've settled in at school. They've done this. They've done that. If we start shouting about that, it's not going to be quite as important for us to want to run businesses at a fast rate when we're being parents as well. Okay, well, let's set up a business. That's fine. That's what I want to do. I want that flexibility. I want to do what I've always wanted to do. But I don't have to be reaching 6-7 figures in my first 3 years, because actually that's not my priority. I want to earn a decent living and I want to feel really good about what I do and I want to make a difference in the world. But actually my priority is my family at this stage, like you said just now. At this stage, my priority is keeping my marriage together. My priority is keeping my kids healthy and alive and building their self-esteem and confidence. That is my priority, and I need my work to fit around that and not the other way around.
Yeah, that's exactly how I did it. And I don't think people necessarily understand the journey that, that I went on and the choices that I made. But I set the business up when Olivia was just about to turn 1. So it was when I was my maternity had ended, and I did go back to employment, but it didn't last very long. It just did not work with childcare costs, etc. So I went into business, but the whole point was, I still wanted to be a very present mum, and I didn't want to miss any of those big stages at that age. I wanted to be there. So I found the balance, and I have very gradually grown my business over those years, gradually increasing nursery, gradually decreasing the time that I spent with her at home until she was at school. And that was what I wanted. I could have turned my business into that 6-figure business and absolutely ran with it. But that wasn't why I was setting up the business. I was setting it up to be more present with my daughter and be there for my family. And it's absolutely done. It was just the most perfect thing for me. And I know that I don't regret that at all. Yes, it's taken me longer to achieve the business dreams, but I can still achieve those business dreams and have taken my time with it. And I love that. And I love that the business, I still only work 4 days a week. That even though my daughter's at school 5 days a week, I now have that time for myself.
Yeah.
My staff I've always been ultra flexible with them because they have the same balance issues that I had. We want to be present parents. And it's important as an employer to offer that to your staff and understand that. And now, it's only been in the last sort of 3 years that I've really then pushed the business, and it's gone to, amazing heights. But that's because now my daughter doesn't need me so much. She's in full-time school and a million clubs after school. So I have more time to myself. But I think some people feel guilty and pressured by society if they don't want to instantly push their business to that next level and grow, to that 6-7 figure target, because that's what society shows that you're meant to do.
Exactly.
But it's so easy to burn out.
It makes me want to cry, Claire. So firstly, well flipping done you, because you've followed the journey that you've needed to follow in your life. But not only that, people listening to this might make that sound like that's really easy, and it isn't. Actually, taking your foot off the pedal as a high achieving driven woman is flipping hard work.
Yeah, you have to constantly remember your why.
Yeah,
Constantly.
You do. And because it's easier to keep your foot flat on the pedal. It is easier to just go flat out and go, I love my business. I really want to achieve. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. Yeah. Okay, kids, hold on a minute. That is what, as a high achieving driven woman, drives us to a certain extent. It's what gives us our buzz. It's what gets us out of bed in the morning. So that is, certainly for me, my pre-children me, worked all the hours God sent, and it was no hassle because I absolutely loved what I did. I was developing people, I was coaching people, I was training people. It was brilliant. I loved it. To be able to make a conscious decision and say, at this chapter in my life, my child, who I am so grateful for and I am blessed to have had, is going to need me pretty much for the first 12 years. And then they're going to want to like a lot more independence. I've probably got them for another couple and that'll be it. And it's such a short space of time. And everyone tells us that, but it doesn't mean it's easy to do. And so, you know, people need to be around people like you more to keep them connected with their why, to go, but why are you doing? Yes, you can do that. Of course you can. Capability wise, absolutely you could get to the 6-7 figures. Absolutely you could. Of course you could. But do you want to right now? Is it the right thing to do for you, your health, your relationships, your family right now? Maybe not. So be grateful for the business you have right now. Create it so that when the time is right, you can absolutely smash it. But in the meantime, figure out what is important to you right now. Firm believer. So massive well done, because that is not easy.
Thank you. And taking it back then, right back to what you said at the beginning about keeping that balance, because so we've said now that, you know, society and social media and everything shows us this image and gives us that ready written path basically where we think we should always be going with our businesses. But what we're not hearing about and seeing is the background. Yes, they've got that 7-figure business. Yes, they have an amazing house and, you know, they're doing all of these amazing things, but actually in the background, they're never spending time with their children. They feel completely exhausted. Their marriage might be on the rocks, you know. You only see such a tiny glimmer. And this goes across social media in its entirety, in every aspect. Nobody is as perfect as they come across on social media. But what would you say to somebody who is pushing and following that path that they think, you know, they might never have asked themselves the question if this is actually what I really want, but they can see that other areas of their lives are starting to suffer? How can you start bringing that balance back and improving things across the board in your life? Because sometimes we can feel, you know, you're so far down the track in business that you can't put the brakes on now. It's sort of snowballing and running away with itself. So how can you bring everything back in alignment? What's the first thing that you would recommend people do in that situation?
I think the first thing is admitting that you're not where you need to be, that you're not where you want to be. You know, it's like any addiction, because we're talking about addiction a lot of the time here as well. You know, you know, like you say, you've got the external pressures from the outside world, and social media has just exacerbated that. But a lot of this is about workaholicism. Workaholicism, is that a word? This is about being a workaholic.
It is now, Debbie.
Hysterical. And it's about, so what is it I am avoiding that is making me work so much? So, you know, I've been a coach for 25 years, and there is always something that person hasn't even realised yet that is going on in their life that isn't bringing them joy and isn't making them happy. And the more that is happening, the more they run to work, because that's their guaranteed measure of success.
Right.
And so, first of all, I think it is admitting that actually, do you know what? I need to start looking in the mirror and going, am I where I want to be? Is this what I am created, or what I have created, this life that I'm living in right now, how I want it to be? Because I'm only here once. It can be whipped away from us tomorrow. So I think that's the first stage. You know, obviously as a coach, I would say 100% find the right coach for you, because the industry, since COVID, everybody's a coach, right? And that's brilliant. Don't get me wrong. That is great, because it means that there is so many more coaches out there. And I often find that people either label themselves a business coach or a life coach. The business coaches are focused on the strategy and the finances and the marketing plans and their 5-year goals, etc. And the life coach is often more about nutrition, exercise, meditation. Very few look at the actual individual.
It's all one package.
Yeah, it's not looking at, you know, if I was working with you, Claire, I'm not only looking at your business. I'm not only looking at your life. What I'm doing is I'm looking at you as an individual, and unique, incredible person. and where you're at, where you want to go. So I think, firstly, it's figuring out where you're at and that you're not happy. Secondly, I would say find the right coach for you. You know, I'm like Marmite. People either love me or hate me. I don't care either way. I am who I am. If you love me, come talk to me. If you don't, we'll just stay away and find somebody you do like. You know, either or. And therefore, there's always somebody out there for somebody. And the
Yeah.
third thing I would say is get yourself in a community, in an environment where there are people like you and you can be vulnerable. And what I mean by that is, so I've run, leadership development programs. I've run online transformational programs. I've run online academies. But what was missing was a place where high achieving, go-getting driven people can be in a room, be known to be successful in their own right, but behind the scenes, they can say, do you know what? My marriage is falling apart. I don't know what to do about it. You know, and one conversation could be about that. Another conversation could be about their health. Could be about how to get more sales into their business. But to be in a group of people where you can have those conversations who are just as excited talking about business as they are having fun and how important it is to have good friends. So they're the type of environments I create in my masterminds, because I think it's got to be the both. It's got to be the business and the life, but not many people want to do the two. They want either one. You know, I've been in a mastermind before where we've been focusing on our businesses, and it's where I was at a bit of a crossroads of, you know, am I focusing more on corporates? Am I focusing more on females? And am I focusing more on early business owners? Where am I at? And I remember being in the room and going, do you know what? I actually don't know what it is I'm selling and who it is I'm selling it to at the moment. I'm going through a bit of a transition. And there's quite a new person in this mastermind. They went, well, I wouldn't buy anything from you. I was like, what? I felt really vulnerable at the time, because it was a bit like, oh, okay. And then I was like, hold on, I'm not selling to you. It's very different being at a networking event where you're at an event and your aim is to network the living daylights out of it, to get new contacts. You know, we met at a business event, you know, Ideas Fest. It was brilliant. That's where we met. It was great. And now we're talking on a podcast. Brilliant. So that wouldn't have been the place where I went, oh, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. So it would definitely be find yourself an environment where you can be both the high-end, brilliant business person that you are and the vulnerable human being that you are as well. And both are rated just as successful as each other.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you're right. It's so important to find yourself that community and that space, because, you know, we talk a lot about celebrating the wins, you know, always, no matter how small it is, always celebrate the wins. But you need the people to pick you up when you're, you know, on the other side of that spectrum as well. And with life, I think when we're talking about careers, I think people think it's different when you're on a career, an employed career, and a business owner. But actually, they're very similar paths. You know, it's all about, it impacts your life so much, work, however you spend your time at work, it impacts everything else around you. It's where we spend majority of our time, everybody, you know. So you have to be happy in that, but you also have to be happy in all of the other areas, because, again, vice versa, that impacts your career and your business as well. So having I think it does take confidence, having the confidence to say, I am smashing it in my business right now, but you know what, guys, at home, I feel like I'm really failing as a mum. I've missed all of this, you know, the last school performance or whatever, like I'm really screwing up there. Having that space to honestly be able to share that and not feel judged at all, and have probably that room, would probably say half of them would go, do you know what? Yeah, I felt exactly the same. Last month I missed this, you know, even if it's just to say you're not alone in that. And there's points where I've dropped the ball as a parent as well. Or, you know, yeah, me and my partner, we actually had to have some discussions and make time for some date nights to get that balance back, you know. having, I suppose it is literally that, it's knowing that you're not alone and that other people are facing these challenges as well. And then you can share the tips and advice of what worked for them, what didn't work for them. But having the community, and I've said this from day one, because it can be a lonely place, this world of ours. It can feel really lonely, even in the busiest spaces. So I think finding that community that you really feel like you have that army of cheerleaders around you, I think is so important. And it's beautiful that you're creating that, trying to create those spaces. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I think it's really important. And I think it's you know, I often say I create secret best friends for people because most of the people I work with don't want the world to know yet that they're working with me. And I'm not the kind of person that I've always got selfies on social media about who I'm working with, or I do screenshots of my screen with all the people online working with me, because it's secret. It is. And now if somebody wants to share that they were, then fine. But as far as I'm concerned, that's their story to give, which from my business perspective is hard, because from a marketing perspective, that can be really tricky. But actually what people need is a private space where they can just be 100% themselves. And once I can get people to that stage, then it's about, right, now I've got a community over here of other people like that. Do you want to join it? Great, come on in. Because if we know, yeah, swimming particularly, one week I might be top of the world and got loads of energy, and the next week I might literally be flat on my back going, oh my God, I can't cope. Because our
Yeah.
energy and our hormones and our moods go up and down all the time. And if we can be around people who appreciate that and still value us for that, not beat us around the head with a wooden stick to say, why aren't you consistent? Well, I'm not consistent. I'm all or nothing. So I'm either flat out doing 12 hours a day and absolutely in my flow and loving it, or I can't get out of bed and it's just not a day I can just about get the kids to school. And, that might be my ADHD, going a bit crazy, but that's me. And I've created a world where I work like that because that's the best way for me to work. And if I can help other people to say, do it your way. Let's use your strengths. Let's use your energy management. Let's do it that fits with your family, which is different to their family. And let's love each other for doing that as well. In a way that still fits with driven, go-getting people. It's so exciting. I love it.
Well, I love it. And I think it's just, it really is beautiful to be able to help people find complete balance across every aspect of their life. And it's so important to get that message out that does not mean that you can't be the high achiever, 7-figure business owner, be at the top of that boardroom. You don't have to give any of that up. You've just got to find the way to make it work for you. And it will be different for every single person because we all have different needs. I 100% work better as the day goes on and into the evening than I do in the morning. I don't know why, but, and I used to fight that for quite a long time. I'd be like, no, you work between these hours, but actually I've just embraced it now. That's who I am. That's how I work. And as long as it's not impacting anything else, then there's no harm in me doing that.
Isn't it funny how we often leave a corporate job or an organisational job because we want more flexibility around our families, and then what we do, we set our businesses up to be 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. I'm similar to you. When it comes to me running workshops and running events or being on stages, then I'm better in the morning. My energy is at its highest in the morning. But if I've got to, write a book, write an Instagram or a LinkedIn post, design a new workshop or a new program, I'm much better off afternoon, evening. And so actually, why can't I find a way of incorporating that into my world where that my husband can get home on the days he gets home at a reasonable time? Well, I'm going to then work because I can really concentrate. But it's funny because we always end up trying to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, all within those parameters, which is nuts.
It is ridiculous. But I think it's all about asking yourself the questions, isn't it? And becoming self-aware. I think that's the thing. So you and I obviously have realised that these are the times that we are really good at certain tasks. And if we try and do that in the morning, we'll still get it done, but it won't be as good and it will take us twice as long. Like asking yourself those questions and getting to know yourself on a really personal level. Again, I just think we get so wrapped up in everything on that treadmill and just go, 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 go. We never take the time to just sit there and be like, what do I want? What is it that I am looking for in life? What am I loving at the moment and what am I not so enjoying? And is this the way that I'm working? You know, forcing myself to be a 9 to 5 person, is that actually working for me, getting the best out of me? And I think there's a massive push for people to, for me, I say this all the time, just start asking yourself questions, you know, and I'm a massive advocate for journaling. I absolutely love it. I ask the questions and I just let the pen sort of flow. And then I'll go back and read it later. I'll be like, God, I didn't even know that about myself. Like, where did that come from?
Completely, it's so funny, isn't it? What can come out is,
Yeah.
but actually nobody facilitates us to learn about ourselves. So this is, you would have seen in my talk, I have my own model of working. It's called the success triangle, and the most amount of time, which is the foundation of the triangle, so it equates to the foundations of a house. You can't put the walls and a roof on dodgy foundations because they just won't last. So the success triangle is all about how to get to fulfillment, how to get to the pinnacle of life, which is happiness, fulfillment, joy, etc. And the next one down is business. And people always focus so much on business, but there are 3 stages underneath. And the bottom one is self-awareness. And that is where I spend a majority of my time with my clients. Exactly what you were just saying. Who are you? What do you stand for? What are your values? What is it you really want more than anything? What are your strengths? What are your blind spots? What are your dreams? What are your visions? All of that piece to really hold the mirror up and allow people to go, well, who am I? Particularly after they become a parent. Because all of a sudden you've got this life before being a parent where you had an identity, you were this, that, and the other. You become a parent, your whole world changes. And what you do is you try and stay the person you were before kids, as well as the new version of you, which is a parent. And actually all that does is
Yes.
burn you out and cause stress. But nobody helps people get to a third version, which is, well, who are you now? Where are you at now?
Yeah.
And that is in my view, the self-awareness is the key to absolutely everything. And once you've nailed that, it's then looking at health, mental health, physical health, emotional health and spiritual health. And once you've got your own health, so this is all about the internal stuff, the self-awareness is internal, the health is internal, then it's looking at the relationship with yourself, relationship with your family, relationship with your friends, your colleagues, your team, your clients, the world. And then it starts going external, which is why my business is called Stronger Inside and Out, because you've got to get strong on the inside before you can get strong on the outside. And once you've got those 3 things as good as they can be, that's when business all of a sudden becomes easy. And that's when business all of a sudden grows. And you're like, oh my God, how is this all of a sudden happening? And that's kind of like the model that I work with whether it's one-to-one clients, whether it's with my masterminds, whether it's with my programs, whether it's corporate or self-employed, and it works every single time.
Yeah. I think it's so true because so often when we don't do that internal work, we are surrounded by these blocks, these walls that we so unintentionally have built around ourselves in all different areas. And if you just do that work on yourself, they will start crumbling down around you in a good way. And suddenly the business is taking off, or, things are massively improving around you. And you haven't actively done anything in that specific area of your life, but just because you have become more aligned with who you are, what you're looking to achieve, naturally, organically, everything around you improves. And I love seeing that transition in people. And I think so it's spot on that that's what you focus on the most, because until we truly know what it is that we actually are looking for and what keeps us, full of joy, how are we supposed to build that and build our careers and businesses around that when we don't even know it ourselves? So Yeah, I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Debbie, if people are wanting to find out more about how you work or work with you, where is the best place for them to find you?
So obviously my website is www.strongerInsideandout.co.uk. And there's some
Yeah.
freebie bits in there as well, and I'll also send you a link to my Success Triangle Masterclass, which I'm happy to offer your listeners for free. So I'll send you a link to that. I am on LinkedIn under Debbie Waite, Waite. And that's where I do more of my articles, my blogs, more of my thought leadership stuff. And I'm on Instagram as Stronger Inside and Out, which is more your chats, your live chats, your thoughts in the moment, the more behind the scenes kind of who am I kind of stuff.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'll put all of the links in the show notes for everyone. And if you can send me that over, Debbie, I'll put that freebie in there for you as well. But yeah, just thank you so much for joining me. I could talk about this for hours and hours, but I realise the listeners probably need to get on with their day. So we should end it there. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Such great insights into, keeping that balance. And I want all of the listeners to go away and have a bit of homework and just ask themselves some questions and start really analysing where you're at and whether you are genuinely on the right path for you. Debbie, thank you again. Everybody, thank you for listening, and I will catch you all next week.
I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, which was brought to you by Xero Accounting Software, a champion of female entrepreneurs and a proud sponsor of the Female Founders podcast. If you're running a small business and you're dreaming big, then Xero is here to help make those dreams a reality. Xero is all about supporting women like you, who are not just running businesses, but are also changing the game. So whether you're just starting out or you're scaling up, join a global community of female founders who trust Xero to manage their finances efficiently. Just visit refer.xero.com/female founders to learn more. But for now, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this episode with all the incredible female founders you know. And together, let's change what it means to be a female founder in today's world.